Open Book with Susan Baier, the show where we get to know our local leaders and learn more about the people behind the titles. I'm your host, Susan Baier, the Executive Director of the Allen County Public Library. We're here in Studio B in the Access Fort Wayne studios at our main library in beautiful downtown Fort Wayne. I'm so excited to chat with our guest today. Please help me welcome the Director and CEO of Foellinger Foundation, Sarah Strimmenos. Hi,
Hello.
Sarah.
Hi. So nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad to have you here, too. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
I've got some questions for you. What is the Foellinger Foundation, and what is the mission of the foundation?
The Foellinger Foundation was founded in 1958 by Helene and Esther Foellinger, and our mission is to support those with the most economic need and the least opportunity in Allen County.
So, Sarah, I've read on the website of the foundation that at the Foellinger Foundation, champion is a verb.
That's absolutely right.
And I love that, and I wondered if you could tell me more about what that means.
So when we think about, our tagline is we champion opportunity, but when we think about champion being a verb, it's in the way that we go about doing the work. And we think that that looks like listening to the individuals that are served in this community and taking their feedback and working on grant opportunities that get at the heart of what they need. An example of this would be our neighborhood work, or partnered with the Department of Neighborhoods at the City of Fort Wayne, and we did a lot of listening and learning around what do neighbors need to support their community in a way that will bring the most connection and bring people together. So that's a perfect example of how we think champion is a verb.
So your founders, Helene and Esther Foellinger, have a remarkable story.
They do.
Could you share with us their story and how that story is preserved and shared?
Absolutely. So we had the honor of doing a documentary film called An Influence for Good.
Yes.
And it is on our website. A little plug there for anyone that wants to jump in and take a look at that. At that documentary film. What's important to us about obviously preserving the history of who they were is because we are a private foundation. The intent of that family's funds to be used in our community is what we follow, and how the lens that we look through, right? And in determining how do we create that opportunity, how do we listen and learn from our grantees in creating ways to bring people to self-sufficiency. And that was really something that they wanted to focus on. They were world travelers, a mother-daughter duo. Helene never married, and they lived together in their home on Old Mill Road until Esther's passing in 1969. But when they were getting ready to do some travel, they had through many hardships of their family. They had lost their father while he was traveling, and they had lost her sister, Loretta, in a plane crash that also occurred when they were traveling. So they set up the foundation in the event anything happened to them on their journeys so that their estate would be preserved and would be available for the community to benefit from it.
I have visited your offices, and they are absolutely beautiful.
Thank you so much.
And something I find really meaningful when I have visited there is that there are several personal artifacts of the family there. And I am someone myself, I find a lot of meaning from the objects around me.
Absolutely.
For instance, in my office, I have something that was in Ian Rowland's office, which I love to look at.
That's amazing.
Yes.
You'll have to show that to me sometime.
I will. So I wondered, when you're in your offices, are there particular items from the family that you look at and that ground you and that really tie you back to the mission of the work?
There is. Our library is the perfect place for displaying those artifacts, obviously, and we have her dining room table that we sit at when we have meetings in there. And that also, yes, it also just makes you feel really like this is where the family sat and had meals. But in our niches along the wall is where we have a lot of those artifacts. But what I feel most closely related to are the items that she had on her desk at the News Sentinel. There's her stamp that she used, her seal, her pen, her business cards, and those things that she just sat with on a daily basis. When we think about the opportunity that's created, she was quite a trailblazer to be in journalism and publishing in the 1930s and leading a newspaper with the readership that we had in this area. It was quite large for a city our size. And I just think about what that must have been like for her to be that true trailblazer for women and to be a model, I think, for what could be achieved despite being quite in a sort of a man's world, right?
So the foundation issues these transformative grants to organizations throughout the community. What does that grant process look like?
So we have an online grant application, which is I think pretty commonplace these days. But we also have Q&A sessions that we offer and workshops on our evaluation model, so that you can ask questions, you can work with our evaluator, and do one-on-one sessions to determine how can you best put your best foot forward, right? How do you make the best opportunity to access grant funding from the foundation? We do multi-year operating support for our community-based grants, and that requires an evaluation model to be utilized when you think about the outcomes that are generated from the programming that's done. So we offer those classes so that people can come in and get that, again, that one-on-one coaching, and have access to our staff and our chief program officer to talk through how do we best work in this vein and how can we be most successful.
So the Foellinger Foundation has invested significantly in leadership development
Yes.
in our community. Can you share about that work, both for nonprofit executives as well as nonprofit board members?
Absolutely. So leadership is really key to us. Adaptive leadership is something that we look at in the grantees that we provide funding to see. Our mission is to support those with economic need, but also when we think about how do we tie that evaluation model back to how the organization operates, right? So we say that we like to work with organizations that are mission-driven, results-oriented, and that adaptive leadership is such a key component to having those elements. So we pour into those leaders to help them achieve goals, to help them operate in a way that they can be most successful. Corporate businesses provide all sorts of professional development and training for their leadership. It's a no-brainer for them, right? It's part of what you do. Nonprofits don't have the funds to allocate to that, and I think if you ask most CEOs, and yourself included, if you had something that needed to be funded or taken care of at your organization, the last place you're going to look at is pouring into yourself as that leader, right?
Leaders eat last.
Leaders eat last, so you're going to make sure that everybody else has what they need so that the organization can operate at a high level. So we have taken the approach that we can step into that gap to help those leaders succeed and gain skill sets.
And the development for board members, I think, is so critical as well.
It really is. That board governance is such a key component. So we have established the Barbara Burt Fund years ago at the Community Foundation, which is a nice partnership, too, with us and the Community Foundation for that donor advised fund that provides opportunities for board members of local organizations to access training, conferences, things outside the community, and then we ask for them to bring back a little nugget of what they learned and how they're going to apply that information to leading the organization. There, again, isn't a lot of funding available for board members to access travel, access conferences, and this is another opportunity that organizations can get that really key component that can keep pouring into their organization and bringing new ideas in terms of how they can best govern, how they can best support the organization that they're so involved in.
So our two organizations have such a special and long-lasting relationship. We have enjoyed a partnership for 40 years.
40 years!
40 years. We're middle-aged.
I know. How about that?
In support of our summer reading program.
Absolutely.
Why has Foellinger made the ACPL summer reading program such a signature program?
Well, first of all, you make it easy for us, but the literacy component is so important. Literacy rates in our community can always be improved upon, although I hear we've had some really positive results in the recent months that are coming out after kids went back to school. And that component is so important. The access to opportunity to learn creates hopefully that lifelong learning bug in these young kids, and also the opportunity that the teens get for being part of Team Read. They get to step into a leadership role and be a true role model to these kids. And when you think about, and I know you've seen there's many success stories right here within your own staff of people that have participated in that programming, but we just see a real connectivity to creating the opportunity to make learning fun, to make reading fun, and to generate hopefully a lifelong love of reading and books.
Yes, we have multiple members of our management team who started here as team readers
fantastic.
thanks to the Foellinger Foundation
It's just
support.
fantastic.
Yeah, we love it. So I know there are so many examples of grantee stories that champion opportunity. And I could talk all day, every day about what happens here at Allen County Public Library, but there are others as well. Are there some you could share?
Absolutely. So Great Kids Make Great Communities is another, I'll say, a signature program that we support. And through the work that came out of the court system with Judge Charlie Pratt, to educate educators and to give them the tools and constant, again, that lifelong learning, the ability to access learning conferences. The big conference is actually coming up next week on Thursday, I believe, on the October 2nd. And it's bringing hundreds of educators together to listen and learn and to get access to information about how to deal with kids. It's things like mental health. It's things like food insecurity, working with children that are working in poverty, working with kids that are way behind, right? How do you help support these children? And how do we support and pour into these educators that we know are up against a lot, right? Always trying to do more with less.
And another organization that I know benefits from Foellinger so much is an organization where I serve on the board, the Literacy Alliance.
Yes, absolutely. It's a wonderful partnership with them as well. We do have a new grant opportunity that we have stepped into with BrightPoint that is a little bit outside of what we typically do that I thought I would also mention to you. We provided some loan loss support for their community loan center. So participating employers that work with BrightPoint, their employees can access emergency loans of up to $1,000, and they're paid back through payroll deductions, and the funds are available, no questions asked. The loan loss support of $100,000 allows BrightPoint to lend $1 million into community loan center funding that they were able to acquire out to those employers' employees to help them avoid payday lending and to help smooth the path to success if they have an unexpected expense that could really impact their family's ability to continue on that path to self-sufficiency.
So for personal expenses, medical expenses.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
amazing.
It is amazing.
How can the community at large support the work of the foundation and engage with the Foellinger Foundation?
So we would ask if someone's looking at how to support the community or support the work that we're doing in the community is to think about how can you be a good neighbor? How can you participate in your homeowners association and neighborhood activities and think about creating opportunity for connections just in the space that's around you. I feel that, and we've worked with an author, Seth Kaplan, on Fragile Neighborhoods and thinking about there's a lot of disconnection that's happening in our country that has happened for years, right? Mm-hmm. We've created an amazing society, but also there's a very individualistic view sometimes that people have around success and what that looks like. And we think that if you step outside of that and you are able to reach a hand out to a neighbor, to make a connection, to have a friendship, that really enriches people's lives, and it's a way to really feel rooted in community.
Sarah, you've been in the CEO role now for about 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. What drew you to the role?
The opportunity to make impact. I was on the board for many years. I actually audited the Foellinger Foundation for 10 years when I was in public accounting. Feels like a lifetime ago now, but it really wasn't that long ago.
What a way to learn about an organization.
Exactly. Yeah. And so Barbara Burt was the CEO when I started working on the foundation's audit. So I had the benefit of learning from her. And then, of course, Cheryl Taylor succeeded her in that role of CEO. But it really was just the timing was right. And I had really engaged a lot on the board in terms of the trajectory that the foundation was taking, the strategic planning process that basically reaffirms the way that we're interacting in the community and the opportunity to step into further community development. And again, that listening and learning and how can we apply that information to thinking differently about how we serve the community through our grant making.
So looking back in your career to your very first job,
Mm-hmm.
Can you share what that first job was? And are there any lessons you learned there that apply to your work today?
Absolutely. So I worked at the food court at Glenbrook Square, and I worked
Oh.
at 2 different restaurants there. One was Great American Hot Dog, not very well known, but Sbarro's Pizza was another one that I worked at for many years, and it still is in existence at the food court. Working in that way taught you a lot about teamwork. It taught you a lot about customer service and how to smile in the face of adversity. So honestly, that was such a great opportunity for me. And at the time, of course, you don't realize this, right? You're 15, 16, working at the mall, which was also cool. And I had a lot of friends that worked at the mall, so we had a good time.
In the mall heyday.
The mall heyday. Yes, it was the mall heyday. And it was, but it just, again, that customer service aspect. How do you serve people with a smile, even though you may not be receiving that smile back at you?
That's awesome. Will you still eat at Sbarro's?
I absolutely do. They make a mean calzone.
They do.
And it also taught me a lot about cooking, I'll just be honest, and a lot about how to clean up a very big mess.
Yeah.
That kitchen was a big mess a lot of times.
That is taking me back. That is a food court staple of
Yes,
my childhood.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
With the ice rink and everything. Yeah, it was amazing.
So you were talking about creating community and the sense of being a good neighbor. I think a lot of young people are looking for a way to find that connection and to make a difference. What advice would you give to a young person who wants to make a difference in the community, but they don't feel that they have a voice and they're not quite sure where to begin?
Absolutely. So if you are in high school, or younger, I would say, obviously there's church groups and things that you can be involved in, and maybe some school clubs or something along those lines. But there's also the Peacemaker Academy that Alive Community Outreach is sponsoring. I think that is a very unique way to get involved, not just only to meet people and to have a purpose, right, towards solving conflict within your school, but also to be that positive example to others in terms of how do you settle disagreements. That's a real life skill, right? And I think if you could learn that at a young age, I think that could be what could be better for your life, right? Any kind of volunteering, right? There's so many opportunities in our community, even for younger people, right? Three Rivers Festival, all of those things that happen out in the community. They're always looking for something. We also have the Young Leaders of Northeast Indiana, our Weil and I folks, for the younger professionals that provide people those opportunities to step into not only, again, meeting and trying to build networks, but also those volunteer opportunities that introduce you to other nonprofits and ways that you can really help support issues and things that really need support in our community.
Yeah, I think this is a community that you can find your people, and you can find people who care about the same things that you care about, and that's a way that you can form community.
Yeah, we really have a lot of examples of that, I think, across the board. Greater Fort Wayne has their program Leadership Fort Wayne that I also think is another excellent way for people to get involved in the community, listen, learn, and build those networks, but also find ways that they can volunteer, engage with a board opportunity perhaps, or serve on a committee.
And they also have great opportunities for people new to the community.
They do, with the onboarding. It's amazing. And that's so needed.
So Sarah, for my final question, it's a segment we call here on Open Book, the tail end with Toonces. So I will explain. Toonces is my gray cat. He couldn't come to the studios today, but he did want me to ask you a question.
Oh, I can't wait. What is it?
So it is related to the place we are in, which is a library, so books. He wanted me to ask you, is there a book you read as a child that still has an influence on you to this day?
Absolutely. So there's so many.
Okay.
It's hard to pick just one.
You can pick a few if you'd like.
So I will say the Little House on the Prairie series was, I think, the first series that I really engaged with. And, you couldn't wait till that next one came out. And it was just something that I had the whole collection. My mother was a librarian at Memorial Park School for several years. When I was
really?
When I was in maybe
cool.
3rd, 4th grade. And so there was just, I couldn't wait to get the Newbery Award-winning books, right, that were coming out and to see all those different ones. So there was a lot of books. But if I really think about one that was impactful, that I do think about sometimes to this day, I would have to say The Diary of Anne Frank. Powerful, moving, devastating, certainly, when you think about the implications of it. But also to know that there was hope, a spark of that in what she was experiencing in that way, in hiding, with her family. I think about that a lot. And when I think about people that are suffering in our community and the adversity that a lot of people are up against, I do sometimes think back to some of the things that resonated with me in that book.
So Little House on the Prairie, did you like the TV show as well?
I did, absolutely. I actually follow Melissa Gilbert on social media, and she's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, apparently there are Little House conventions.
There are.
And,
oh, yes.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting,
It's a
actually.
whole prairie universe
There's
out
a whole
there.
prairie universe
Yeah.
out there.
Well, Sarah, this has been delightful. Thank you so much for coming. And we are so grateful for the 4 decades of support Foellinger has given ACPL and our summer learning program, and the true generational impact that has given our library and our program. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything you do. What would our community be like without the library? I hope we never find out.
You and me both.
Absolutely.
And thank you so much for watching Open Book. Until next time, keep turning those pages.
Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne. Learn more under the Services tab at acpl.info.